From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. A recent discovery by paleontologists working in Colorado is giving scientists a slightly revised history of primates. That's the group of mammals that includes apes and humans. Scientists working at Corral Bluffs near Colorado Springs recently discovered tiny teeth and bone fragments belonging to a species called Purgatorius. Purgatorius was an early and distant cousin of humans. It thrived 65 million years ago, not long after an asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs. Purgatorius fossils had never been found as far south as Colorado before this recent dig. And scientists say the discovery suggests that once dinosaurs were out of the picture, mammals may have thrived more quickly and over a wider swath of the planet than previously understood. Jordan Crowell is a postdoctorate fellow with the Denver Museum of Nature and Science who worked with dozens of volunteers and other scientists on the dig near Colorado Springs. He joined me earlier this year to talk about why this discovery is so significant. We're listening back to that conversation today. So, the main character in this story is a small mammal called Purgatorius. Jordan, introduce us to Purgatorius. How big was he and where did he live?
Yeah, so Purgatorius is a true-sized mammal that perhaps maybe looked a little bit like a mouse or a rodent you may find alive today. Prior to this discovery, Purgatorius really only lived in Montana and southern parts of Canada. But now we've found it as far south as Colorado.
Now, when you talk about an early primate, I, in my head, picture something closer to a monkey or an ape. How closely related is Purgatorius to us, humans?
So Purgatorius is very distantly related to all humans. If we think about all living primates alive today, the lemurs, the monkeys, the apes, and the humans, and then we trace all of them back down to a common ancestor, Purgatorius was probably a few branches removed from that common ancestor. So they are a very distant cousin of all primates, including humans.
Okay. Now, you found these Purgatorius fossils in an area near Corral Bluffs, near Colorado Springs. What makes Corral Bluffs an especially interesting place for paleontologists?
Yeah, so Corral Bluffs is actually becoming quite famous. It not only preserves really the first million years after the extinction of the dinosaurs, but it has remarkable preservation of these mammal fossils. So we're not only finding isolated teeth of some mammals, we've found partial skulls and even partial skeletons of some of these mammals that were previously really only known from isolated teeth fragments. So Corral Bluffs is becoming a very special place to study this recovery of life. When you're out in the bluffs, we call it, you just sort of look around for these sort of shapely rocks that kind of look like crania.
Okay.
And you break them open and you can find skulls inside. And so it's a really strange way of finding fossils, but it is what makes Colorado Springs pretty unique.
Now, you excavated literal tons of soil from Corral Bluffs and then sifted through it to look for bones and other fossils. These very tiny teeth you found from Purgatorius are a big part of your discovery. What did you find when you examined the teeth, and why was that exciting?
Yeah, so these teeth, while only 3, admittedly, as a small sample size, but these 3 teeth actually show features that are unique among other species known of Purgatorius. So this, to us, suggests that this may represent a new species, and beyond that, it actually may represent a primitive species of Purgatorius, maybe something that occurs earlier on that branching sequence leading to primates. So that was particularly exciting. And we're waiting for more specimens to formally name this new taxon or species, but yes, it likely is a new thing.
And just to help me picture, how tiny are these teeth?
Yeah, so these teeth could easily fit on the tip of your finger. They're roughly a millimeter by a millimeter in length and width. So they're quite tiny.
Well, one of the fossils you also found was part of a Purgatorius ankle bone. And this suggests that he was living in trees, which then suggests that forests were perhaps more widespread on Earth than previously thought. Why is that an exciting discovery for you?
Yes. So prior to this discovery, we, again, only found Purgatorius up in the north, and the absence of it in the south was kind of confusing to us because we find mammals in the south in Colorado as well as New Mexico.
And north being like Montana north or, Canada?
Montana, Canada, even far north of Canada, but yes. So because Purgatorius was living in trees like all primates do today, we assumed that its absence in the south must be related to forest recovery. And perhaps the forests following the extinction were slow to recover down south. But talking with our colleagues who study plants at the museum, they told us that no, the forests are actually coming back quite rapidly in the south. And so we then thought, okay, maybe we weren't looking hard enough for Purgatorius. And that's what really got us into screen washing Corral Bluffs as thoroughly as we've done.
You mentioned screen washing. That's part of how you sifted through the dirt for fossils, right?
Yes. So screen washing, yes, we take the sediment and we wash it in these meshes, these fine meshes, to isolate those fossils from the dirt.
It feels like this discovery speaks to how resilient mammals were after the dinosaurs were wiped out. Do you ever find Purgatorius a little inspirational?
Absolutely. I think, we can imagine life on the planet following the extinction event. It probably wasn't that fun. There wasn't a lot of things to eat, maybe not good places to hide. And the fact that mammals survived, including our earliest relatives, is kind of inspirational. And, we may go through hard times currently, but our ancestors went through much, much harder times.
And made it through.
Yes.
Movies like Jurassic Park kind of give us this picture of, a handful of paleontologists digging for fossils in a remote area and quietly making big discoveries. But you had quite a crowd working on this dig. How unusual is that in paleontology?
I actually think it's quite common. So with those large discoveries of big dinosaur bones, you often need a huge amount of a labor force to actually excavate these bones. So the fact that we had dozens and dozens of interns, volunteers, and scientists digging dirt and working through this whole process of finding fossils is kind of pretty standard for our field. And I think that's what makes paleontology quite nice. It can, bring everyone together to really help find fossils and learn more about life on the planet.
Jordan Crowell is a postdoctorate fellow with the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. He spoke with me in March about the recent discovery of fossils near Colorado Springs from an early primate called Purgatorius. You can read more and see photos of just how tiny those tiny teeth are. We'll have links in our show notes and at KUNC.org. And by the way, you can hear every In The NoCo interview we've ever done for free. Just look for In The NoCo in your podcast feed or at KUNC.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.